Next, generate possibilities. Now put on your creating thinking hat. Open up, brainstorm as many possible solutions to the problem as you can. At this stage, quantity counts. As you generate possibilities, gather relevant facts. For example, when you are faced with a dilemma about what courses to take next semester, get information on class times, locations, and instructors. If you haven't decided which summer job offer to accept, gather information on salary, benefits, and working conditions. Next, create a plan. After rereading your problem definition and list of possible solutions, choose the solution that seems most workable. Think about specific actions that will reduce the gap between what you have and what you want. Visualize the steps you will take to make this solution a reality and arrange them in chronological order. To make your plan even more powerful, put it in writing. Step 4. Perform your plan. This step gets you off your chair and out into the world. Now you actually do what you have planned. Ultimately, your skill in solving problem lies in how well you perform your plan. Through the quality of your actions, you become the architect of your own success. When facing problems, experiment with these 4 P's and remember that the order of steps is not absolute. Also remember that any solution has the potential to create new problems. If that happens, cycle through the 4 P's of problem solving again. So, guidelines to problem solving and decision making. It's a rational approach. Much of what people do is solve problems and make decisions. Often they are under the gun, stressed and very short for time. Consequently, when they encounter a new problem or decision they must make, they react with a much of what decision that seemed to work before. It is easy with the approach to get stuck in a circle of solving the same problem over and over again. Therefore, it is often useful to get used to an organizational approach to problem solving and decision making. Not all problems can be solved and decisions made by the following rather rational approach. However, the following basic guidelines will get you started. Don't be intimidated by the length of the list of guidelines. After you have practiced them a few times, they will become second nature to you, enough that you can deepen and enrich them to suit your own needs and nature. First, define the problem. This is often where people struggle. They react to what they think the problem is. Instead, seek to understand more about why you think there is a problem. What can you see that causes you to think there is a problem? Next, what is happening? Then how it is happening and when is it happening? With whom is it happening? Don't jump to who is causing the problem. When we are stressed, blaming is often one of our first reactions. To be an effective manager, you need to address issues more than people. Why is it happening? Write down a 5-sentence description of the problem in terms of the following should be happening but isn't. The following is happening and should be. As much as possible, be specific in your description, including what is happening, where, how, with whom and why. It may be helpful at this point to use a variety of research methods defining complex problems. If the problem still remains overwhelming, break it down by repeating steps 1 to 7 until you have descriptions of several related problems. Verifying your understanding of the problems. It helps a great deal to verify your problem analysis for conferring with a peer or someone else. Prioritize the problems. If you discover that you are looking at several related problems, then prioritize which one you should address first. Note the difference between important and urgent problems. Often, what we consider to be important problems to consider are really just urgent problems. Important problems deserve more attention. For example, if you are continually answering urgent phone calls, then you have probably got a more important problem, and that too, design a system that screens and prioritizes your phone calls. Next, understand your role in the problem. Your role in the problem can greatly influence how you perceive the role of others. For example, if you are very stressed out, it shall probably look like others are too, or you may resort too quickly to blaming and reprimanding others. Or you are feeling very guilty about your role in the problem, you may ignore the accountabilities of others. Look at potential causes for the problem. It is amazing how much you don't know about what you don't know. Therefore, in this phase, it is critical to get input from other people who notice the problem and who are affected by it. It is often useful to collect input from other individuals, one at a time, at least at first. Otherwise, people tend to be inhibited about offering their impressions of the real causes of problems. Write down what your opinions and what you have heard from others regarding what you think might be performance problems associated with an employee. It is often useful to seek advice from a peer or your supervisor in order to verify your impression of the problem. Write down a description of the cause of the problem and in terms of what is happening, where, when, how, with whom and why. Identify alternatives for approaches to resolve the problem. At this point, it is useful to keep others involved. Unless you are facing a personal and or employee performance problem, brainstorm for solutions to the problem. Very simply put, brainstorming, collecting as many ideas as possible, then screening them to find the best idea. It is critical when collecting the ideas to not pass any judgment on the ideas. Just write them down as you hear them. A wonderful set of skills used to identify the underlying causes of issues is systems thinking. Select an approach to resolve the problem. When selecting the best approach, consider which approach is the most likely to solve the problem for the long term. Which approach is the most realistic to accomplish for now? Do you have the resources? Are they affordable? Do you have enough time to implement the approach? What is the extent of risk associated with each alternative? So, the nature of this step in particular in the problem solving process is why problem solving and decision making are highly integrated. Next, plan the implementation of the best alternative, that is your action plan. Carefully consider what will the situation look like when the problem is solved. What steps should be taken to implement the best alternative to solve the problem? What system or processes should be changed in your organization? For example, a new policy or procedure. Don't resort to solutions where someone is just going to try harder. How will you know if the steps are being followed up or not? These are your indicators of the success of your plan. What resources will you need in terms of people, money and facilities? How much time will you need to implement the solution? Write a schedule that includes the start and stop times and where you expect to see certain indicators of success. Who will primarily be responsible for ensuring implementation of the plan? Write down the answer to the above questions and consider this as your action plan. Communicate the plan to those who will be involved in implementing it and at least to your immediate supervisor. An important aspect of this step in the problem solving process is continually observation and feedback. Next, monitor implementation of the plan. Monitor the indicator of success. Are you seeing that you would expect from the behavior? Will the plan be done according to schedule? If the plan is not being followed as expected, then consider, was the plan realistic or the sufficient resources to accomplish the plan on schedule? Should more priority be placed on various aspects of the plan? Should the plan be changed? Verify if the problem has been resolved or not. One of the best ways to verify if a problem has been solved or not is to resume normal operations in the organization. Still, you should consider what changes should be made to avoid this type of problem in the future. Consider changes to policies and procedures, training, etc. Lastly, consider what did you learn from this problem solving. Consider new knowledge, understanding, and or skills. Consider writing a brief memo that highlights the success of the problem solving effort and what you learned as a result. Share it with your supervisor, peers, and subordinates. Rational versus organic approach to problem solving. Rational. A person with this preference often use a comprehensive and logical approach similar to the guidelines in the rational approach. For example, the rational approach described below is often used when addressing large, complex matters in strategic planning. Define the problem. Examine all potential causes for the problem. Identify all alternatives to resolve the problem. Carefully select an alternative. Develop an alternative implementation plan to implement the best alternative. Carefully monitor implementation of the plan. Verify if the problem has been resolved or not. A major advantage of this approach is that it gives a strong sense of order in an otherwise chaotic situation and provides a common frame of reference from which people can communicate in the situation. A major disadvantage is that it can take a long time to finish. Some people might argue too that the world is much too chaotic for the rational approach